I will now read the final clause of Mr. Theodore Blackwood's will. The Blackwood mansion, all surrounding rest of the estate. Mr. Elias Carter.
Victoria Langley, the family's attorney, broke the silence. I will now read the final clause of Mr. Theodore Blackwood's will. Every heir leaned forward. His 3 children smiled confidently. His wealthy relatives exchanged knowing glances. Then Victoria took a slow breath. The Blackwood mansion, all surrounding land, and every asset attached to the estate are hereby left to Mr. Elias Carter. The room froze. A frail man in faded gardening gloves looked up from the back row. The gardener. For 23 years, he had quietly trimmed hedges, planted roses, and repaired broken fences. He had never once entered the mansion through the front door. Damien Blackwood shot to his feet. "This is impossible," Aunt Beatrice whispered, her face turning pale. "He knows." Nobody understood why the gardener had inherited the mansion, but someone in that room already knew the terrifying secret Theodore Blackwood had taken to his grave. Damien slammed both hands onto the polished table. "There has to be a mistake. No gardener inherits a fortune like this." His sister, Celeste, nodded fiercely. "Our father barely spoke to him." Victoria Langley calmly folded the will. "There is no mistake. This document was signed, witnessed, and legally verified." The room erupted. Everyone talked over each other. Only one man remained silent: Elias Carter. He lowered his eyes, gripping his worn cap with rough hands. He looked more frightened than surprised. He planned this. He manipulated Mr. Blackwood. Maybe he blackmailed him. The accusations spread through the room. Not once did Elias defend himself. Across the room stood Arthur Bennett, the mansion's elderly butler. Unlike everyone else, he wasn't shocked. He looked at Elias with quiet sadness, as if he had been expecting this day for years. Damien noticed. "You know something, don't you?" Arthur hesitated, then slowly shook his head. "I know only what your father wanted me to know." That answer only fueled Damien's anger. "What secret?" he demanded. Arthur remained silent. Victoria cleared her throat. "There is one final instruction from Mr. Blackwood." Every face turned toward her. He specifically ordered that no one challenge Mr. Carter until a sealed letter, locked inside the mansion's private study, is opened tomorrow morning. The room fell silent again. "A letter?" Celeste whispered. Victoria nodded. "It contains the reason for his decision." Damien's expression darkened. "If that letter exists, then it can disappear." From the corner of the room, Elias finally looked up. For the first time, his eyes met Damien's. There was no fear in them now, only a quiet certainty. Because Elias knew something Damien didn't. If that sealed letter vanished, the truth would still find its way into the light. The meeting ended in chaos. Relatives gathered in small groups, whispering behind folded hands. Some stared at Elias with disgust. Others watched him with fear. No one knew which emotion was stronger. Elias quietly reached for his old gardening bag. He wanted to leave. Before he could take 2 steps, Damien blocked his path. "You planned this from the beginning." Elias looked at him calmly. "I planned nothing. You expect me to believe my father left everything to a gardener? I expect you to believe what your father signed." Damien's jaw tightened. "You've stolen my family's future." Arthur stepped between them. "Enough." Damien pointed a finger at the old butler. "You've been protecting him for years." Arthur didn't answer. His silence was answer enough. Damien turned to his cousin Marcus. "Send 2 men to the study tonight." Marcus frowned. "The lawyer said the room is sealed." "I don't care. If that letter disappears, there's no proof." Neither of them noticed Victoria standing in the hallway. She heard every word. Quietly, she reached into her handbag and pressed a single button on her phone. A recording had begun. Across the estate, Elias walked toward the gardener's cottage. His pace was slow. His face remained unreadable. Inside the small cottage, he opened an old wooden drawer. Wrapped in faded blue cloth was a silver pocket watch. On its cover was the Blackwood family crest. Elias held it gently. His hands trembled. "I hoped this day would never come," he whispered. A soft knock sounded at the door. Elias looked up. Arthur stood outside. Without a word, the old butler entered and locked the door behind him. He glanced toward the window before speaking. "They're coming for the letter tonight." Elias nodded. "I know." Arthur's voice shook. "And if they discover what's hidden beneath the study..." He couldn't finish the sentence. Elias slowly closed the pocket watch. "They won't just destroy a letter, Arthur. They'll destroy the only evidence that Theodore Blackwood told the truth." "They've already posted guards near the study," he said quietly, but Damien won't stop there. Elias placed the silver pocket watch back into its cloth. "He never does." Arthur's eyes filled with worry. "You could still leave tonight." "And spend the rest of my life running?" Elias asked. He shook his head. "No. Theodore trusted me for a reason." At that very moment, inside the mansion, Damien gathered his closest relatives in the library. "We have one night," he said. "If that letter is opened tomorrow, everything changes." Marcus frowned. "What could be inside that's worth giving away a fortune?" Damien's face hardened. "I don't know. But Father spent 23 years hiding something." A heavy silence settled over the room. Then Aunt Beatrice quietly spoke. "What if the gardener isn't the secret?" Everyone turned toward her. "What do you mean?" Celeste asked. Beatrice swallowed nervously. "The night your mother died, I heard your father arguing with someone." Marcus leaned forward. "Who?" "I never saw his face. But your father kept repeating the same sentence. If the truth ever comes out, they'll lose everything." The room went still. Damien forced a laugh. "You're remembering things that never happened." Beatrice lowered her eyes. "Maybe, but I've never forgotten those words." Outside the half-open library door, one of the young housemaids stood frozen. Emily Harris had only come to deliver fresh tea. Instead, she had overheard every word. Her hands trembled. She remembered something she had found while cleaning Theodore Blackwood's study only weeks earlier. A faded photograph. Theodore, Arthur, and a much younger Elias, standing together, smiling like family. Emily's heart raced. A porcelain cup slipped from her hands and shattered across the marble floor. Every head inside the library snapped toward the door. Damien slowly stood, his cold eyes locked onto the terrified housemaid. "Tell me," he said quietly, "how much did you hear?" Emily's face turned white. I didn't mean to listen." Damien walked toward her with slow, measured steps. "What did you hear?" Emily looked from Damien to Aunt Beatrice, then to the shattered teacup at her feet. "I only heard something about a letter." Damien studied her for a long moment. "You've worked here for 6 months." "Yes, sir." "And you've been cleaning Father's private study." Emily hesitated. "Yes." Damien's voice became dangerously calm. "Did you ever see anything unusual?" Emily's heartbeat quickened. For a second, she considered lying. Then she remembered the photograph. There was one picture. The room fell silent. "What picture?" Marcus demanded. Emily swallowed. "It showed Mr. Blackwood, Mr. Arthur, and..." She stopped. "And who?" Damien barked. "The gardener." Every face froze. Celeste laughed nervously. "That's impossible." Emily shook her head. They looked happy. They weren't standing like employer and staff. They looked like a family. Damien's expression darkened. "Where is that photograph now?" I put it back in the desk drawer." Marcus immediately stood. "It might still be there." Damien turned toward him. "Go." "Now." Marcus rushed out of the library. The moment the door closed, Aunt Beatrice whispered, "I told you Theodore was hiding something." No one answered. Across the estate, Arthur and Elias sat in silence inside the gardener's cottage. Arthur stared at the old pocket watch. It belonged to Theodore's father. Elias nodded. "I know." Arthur looked at him. "Do you remember what he made you promise?" Elias closed his eyes. "Every single word. If the truth ever becomes dangerous, protect the innocent before protecting the family name." A sudden knock echoed against the cottage door. Arthur stiffened.
No one ever visited that late. Elias slowly stood. He opened the door. Victoria Langley stood outside. Her face was pale. "They've broken into the study," she whispered. "And the letter." She took a shaky breath.
Victoria stepped inside and quickly locked the door behind her. "They were careful," she said, struggling to catch her breath. "There were no broken windows, no forced locks." Arthur frowned. "Someone had a key." Victoria nodded. "Or someone who knew exactly where Theodore kept the spare." Elias remained calm. "And the letter?" "Gone." Silence filled the cottage. Victoria looked directly at Elias. "But that's not the worst part." She reached into her leather briefcase and removed a small digital recorder. "I expected Damien to do something reckless after the reading of the will." She pressed play. Damien's voice filled the room. "If that letter disappears, there's no proof." Marcus answered, "We'll take care of it tonight." The recording ended. Arthur stared in disbelief. "You recorded them?" "I had to," Victoria replied. "But a recording only proves they wanted the letter." "It doesn't explain why Theodore gave you the mansion." Elias slowly nodded. "I know." Just then, car tires screeched outside. Bright headlights swept across the cottage windows. Arthur carefully pulled back the curtain. 3 black SUVs had stopped outside. Damien stepped out first. Behind him were Marcus and 2 private security guards. "They found us," Arthur whispered. Damien's voice echoed from outside. "Elias Carter, we know you're in there." They opened the door. No one moved. Then Damien smiled. "If you don't, I'll burn this cottage to the ground. A metal gasoline can hit the porch." Victoria's face turned pale. "He wouldn't," Arthur interrupted. "Yes, he would." Elias looked around the tiny room. 23 years of memories surrounded him. Old photographs, gardening tools, the silver pocket watch. Then his eyes settled on a loose wooden floorboard beneath the fireplace. Very slowly, he knelt and lifted it. Hidden beneath was a weathered leather journal wrapped in oilcloth. Victoria gasped. Arthur closed his eyes. So, Theodore really hid it there. Elias held the journal against his chest. "This is the secret they were never supposed to find." Outside, Damien shouted one final warning. "You have 10 seconds before this place goes up in flames." Damien checked his watch. 5 seconds. Marcus unscrewed the gasoline can. The sharp smell drifted toward the cottage. Victoria's breathing became shallow. "They'll kill us." Elias calmly wrapped the leather journal inside his old gardening coat. "No, they're here to kill the truth." Arthur stepped forward. "Let me go outside. I've watched Damien grow up. Maybe I can reason with him." Elias gently stopped him. "The man you helped raise no longer exists." Outside, Damien nodded at one of the guards. "Light it." The guard struck a match. Just before the flame touched the gasoline, police sirens approached in the distance. Everyone froze. Marcus looked toward the road. "Police?" Damien frowned. "No." Victoria smiled for the first time. "I never came here alone. I sent your recording to Inspector Daniel Brooks before I left the mansion." The sirens grew louder. Blue lights flashed through the trees. Damien's confidence began to crack. "Get back in the vehicles," he shouted. But it was too late. 3 police cars blocked the estate entrance. Officers stepped out with flashlights raised. Inspector Brooks walked toward Damien. "Planning a late-night visit?" Damien forced a smile. "We were simply checking on an employee." The inspector glanced at the gasoline can. With that, no one answered. Brooks turned to Elias. "Mr. Carter, are you safe?" Elias nodded. "For now." The inspector noticed the leather journal beneath Elias's coat. "Is that what they've been looking for?" Before Elias could answer, a gunshot shattered the silence. Everyone ducked. Arthur cried out. The old butler collapsed onto the porch steps, clutching his shoulder. Victoria screamed. The officers drew their weapons. Marcus stood several yards away, holding a smoking pistol. His face had gone completely white. I didn't mean to hit him." Arthur looked at Elias through the pane. With his remaining strength, he whispered,
Don't let them bury Theodore's truth. The journal suddenly felt heavier than the mansion itself.
Drop the weapon. Marcus let the pistol slip from his hand. It struck the stone path with a dull clang. Damien stared at his cousin in disbelief. You fool. Two officers rushed forward and handcuffed Marcus. Another knelt beside Arthur. We need an ambulance now. Arthur winced in pain, but his eyes never left Elias. Open the journal, he whispered. Inspector Brooks looked at Elias. I think it's time. With trembling hands, Elias untied the worn leather strap. The journal opened to the very first page. A sealed envelope rested inside. Across the front, in Theodore Blackwood's unmistakable handwriting, were 6 words. Read this before judging Elias Carter. Victoria carefully broke the seal. Her voice shook as she began to read. If these words are being read, then my family has chosen greed over truth. No one moved. Even Damien stood frozen. Victoria continued. 23 years ago, my business empire was built on a lie. The words hit the crowd like thunder. An innocent man was falsely blamed for the accident that saved my reputation. Elias lowered his head. His eyes filled with tears. Victoria read on. That innocent man was Elias Carter's father. Gasps echoed across the estate. Damien staggered backward. What? No. Victoria's voice grew stronger. His father died carrying my guilt. Elias knew the truth, yet he chose forgiveness over revenge. Arthur smiled weakly through the pain. He kept his promise. Victoria reached the final paragraph. The mansion is not a reward. It is a debt. A debt my family can never repay. Damien collapsed onto the mansion steps. Everything he believed about his father, everything he believed about Elias, had just been destroyed. And for the first time in 23 years, the truth no longer belonged to the powerful. It belonged to the man who had quietly tended the garden. Dawn settled quietly over the Blackwood estate. For the first time in decades, the mansion felt strangely peaceful. Marcus was driven away in handcuffs. Damien stood alone on the front steps. His expensive suit was stained with dirt. His confidence had vanished. He watched silently as Arthur was placed into the ambulance. Before the doors closed, Arthur reached for Elias's hand. You kept your promise. Elias smiled gently. No, we kept it. The ambulance pulled away. Inspector Brooks approached Elias. The estate now belongs to you. What will you do with it? Elias looked across the enormous gardens. Every flower bed, every oak tree, every stone path held a memory. He shook his head. This house has carried enough pain. I'm not here to rule anyone. Victoria looked at him curiously. Then why stay? Elias smiled. Because Theodore wanted this place to become something his family never gave it the chance to be. A place that heals instead of hides. Months later, the mansion reopened. Not as a private estate, but as the Blackwood Hope Foundation. Its doors welcomed children who had lost their parents. Scholarships were created for young gardeners, landscapers, and agricultural students. The gardens Theodore once loved became places of peace instead of secrets. Visitors often noticed one small bronze plaque beside the oldest rose bush. It read, "The greatest inheritance is not wealth, it is the courage to tell the truth, even when it costs everything." Every morning, before anyone else arrived, Elias could still be found wearing the same faded gardening gloves, quietly tending the roses, not because he owned the mansion, but because he had never stopped believing that broken things could bloom again.